Alright, today we're doing parallel and perpendicular lines. The one thing you need to know about parallel and perpendicular lines, okay, parallel lines have the same slope. Parallel lines, hey, the example I give is railroad tracks. Do those tracks ever cross? No, if they did, the train wouldn't be able to stand on them, right? It would fall off. There would be a problem. So, parallel lines never cross each other. They stay side by side the entire time. Okay? Alright. Here's what you need to do. This is what your homework's going to look like. It's going to say write an equation, slope, intercept, form the line that passes through -3, 5 and is parallel to the graph. So here's what you need to do. You need to write this and that right there. So when I'm doing this, okay, first thing I have to do is what would be the slope of a line that's parallel to y equals 2x minus 4? What would be that slope?
2.
Okay, well, what's the slope of this one? 2. Parallel lines have the same slope, right? So my m for this would be 2. Okay, and what I do is I plug, now it's asking for slope intercept form, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into point slope form, which is y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. And then I'm going to solve and make it slope intercept form. So I plug in my numbers. What would be y1? 5. My m would be 2. What would be my x1? -3. Right? So minus -3 make it positive 3. Now someone tell me, what do I do? Okay, I distribute, get 2x plus 6, and y minus 5 on the other side. Then what? Add 5 to both sides, good. So here's my equation, slope-intercept form for the line that passes through -3, 5 and is parallel to y equals 2x minus 4. It's y equals 2x plus 11. Write an equation, slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 4, -1 and is parallel to this graph. What would be the slope of this graph? 1/4. The number in front of x is always slope, so 1/4. So that's going to be my slope for the equation that passes through 4, -1. So start with point slope form, y minus y1. y1 would be -1. m, which would be 1/4, times x minus x1, which x1 would be 4. Now solve for y. So I distribute the 1/4 out. Y plus 1 is equal to 1/4 x minus 1. Because what's 1/4 of 4? 1, right? 1/4 of a number is the same thing as dividing by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. Subtract 1 both sides. Y is equal to 1/4 x minus 2. Now, pay attention to what it says. This here says slope-intercept form. Right? It could say point-slope form, which I would stop here, right? So make sure you're answering what they want. If we talk about parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines intersect at right angles, and this you can see is a perpendicular line. Okay? It crosses with this line. Okay? Anytime you see an upside down T, you know they're talking about perpendicular lines. They're going to use this symbol, okay, to, instead of maybe writing all this out, they're going to show that symbol. You're going to know they're talking about perpendicular lines. They form right angles, 90-degree angle here and a 90-degree angle here. The thing you need to know about perpendicular lines, or the slopes of perpendicular lines, are opposite reciprocals. Okay? I will call them negative reciprocals. All right? We know what reciprocals are. The reciprocal of 1/3 would be 3 over 1, or 3. So when we're talking about negative reciprocals, the negative reciprocal of 1/3 would be -3 over 1. All right, you make it negative. So you flip the number and make it negative, and then you have the slope of that perpendicular line. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through negative 4, 6 and is perpendicular to the graph of 2x plus 3y equals 12. Now they give it the equation of the line in standard form. Can I tell what the slope is just by looking at this? I can't, right? I don't know what the slope is. So what I've got to do is I've got to move this around. Hey, kind of the opposite of yesterday. Yesterday we were in slope-intercept form. We were moving it to the standard form. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move this to slope-intercept form so I can find my slope. What would be my goal if I'm trying to make something in slope-intercept form?
Put the x and y together.
Oh, that's standard form. X and y would be together. So what would be y by itself? Slope-intercept was always y by itself. So the first thing I do is subtract 2x to both sides. So I've got 3y is equal to negative 2x plus 12. Then what? What would I do?
You subtract 3.
Subtract 3?
No, you add.
I would add 3.
You divide.
I would divide. I'm timesing by 3 to my y, so I do the opposite of it. Right? So I divide this whole thing by 3. Now what I do from here, okay, is I take this divide by 3 and this divide by 3. But and so what you can do is you can find the whole equation of that. But what do I just need? What's the only thing I need? The slope. What would it be here? Negative 2/3, right? Okay. Do I need to know what the y-intercept would be? Okay. No. It's 4. 12 divided by 3 is 4. But do I need that? No. This is all I need. That negative 2/3. Okay. Now, what would be a slope of a line that's perpendicular to this? Positive 3/2. So I flip it. M is 3/2. So I plug that in, and the easiest thing to use is point slope form, right? Okay. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus, what would be y1? 6. My m is 3/2. It's the negative reciprocal of the other one, which was negative 2/3. And then x minus negative 4, which becomes positive 4. Distribute the 3/2. Y minus 6 is equal to 3/2 x plus, what would be 3/2 of 4? 6. Okay, because what's 3 times 4?
3 times 4?
Yeah, 3 times 4 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Or you could write that as over 1 and cancel that out and take 3 times 2, which is still 6. Right? Now I've got to get y by itself because it's in slope-intercept form. Always check to see what they want. It could be point-slope form, which if it is, I'm done. If it's slope-intercept form, I'd add 6. Here's my answer. Y equals negative 3/2 x plus 12. It is not negative, sorry. It is positive 3/2 x plus 12. Sorry. Okay? I don't know what I was thinking there. The slope has to be positive here because it was negative on the other side. For it to be perpendicular, they have to be negative reciprocals of each other. It says write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 4, 7 and is perpendicular to the graph of y equals 2/3 x minus 1. This one's much easier than the one before because they tell you what the slope of that line is. It's in slope-intercept form, so what would be a slope? 2/3. So what would be a slope of a line that's perpendicular to that? Negative 3/2. The negative reciprocal. That's easy. All I do is, now I do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus 7 is equal to negative 3/2 times x minus 4. That was easy. Now I solve for y. Distribute this. Negative 3/2 x is negative 3/2 x. Negative 3/2 of negative 4. Get rid of that. It gives me positive 6. Then I add 7 to both sides. Y equals negative 3/2 x plus 13. You're also, another problem you're going to see is going to be something like this. It's going to say determine whether the graphs of y equals 5, x equals 3, and y equals negative 2x plus 1 are parallel or perpendicular. Well, what they'll do is they'll show you what it looks like on a graph, which here they are. Okay. The horizontal line we know is y equals 5. Horizontal lines are always y equals the number. Vertical lines are always x equals a number, which in this case would be 3. They're the only ones that are different. Everything else starts with y equals. So this must be y equals negative 2x plus 1. Your job is to figure out, are they parallel or perpendicular? Okay? Now they might want you to graph it. Sometimes they'll show you what it looks like in a graph. Sometimes they'll make you graph it. Not very hard to graph. You can see that y equals 5 is parallel to the x-axis, and you see that x equals 3 is parallel to the y-axis. Okay? Which all that means is that this is perpendicular to that. They form a right angle. So you can say this, y equals 3x. You can say that y equals 5 and x equals 3 are perpendicular. Okay? So none of the lines here are parallel. Is there anything else? Nope. Okay, so that's it. Alright. X equals 3 and y equals 5 are perpendicular to each other. And that's your answer. Okay? Which you can show by that little symbol right there, an upside down T. Okay? They'll do this. X equals 3 is perpendicular to y equals 5. They'll do something like that. Okay? Any questions? Here's your homework assignment.